everyone, RogueGold here, and welcome to your November news preview breakdown. If you're unaware, this is a little series I do where on months that it's warranted, months that we know stuff is headed our way, I compile all of the Division Universe news you could hope to have and present it accordingly. And whereas October was a bit slower for the Division, we have quite a few things headed our way in November across more than one of the projects and entities within the universe. I will leave timestamps to the different stories and topics in the description down below so you can browse around, but without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off with the two things that we have confirmed dates for this month, and that is within the Division 2, we have both the finale for Season 10 as well as the Dark Path apparel event, both releasing on Tuesday, November 15th. Now on the season side, a lot of people are expecting some more big reveals with the story given how explosive the Season 9 finale was, but it's important to keep in mind that we will also be getting a new exotic in the game because the Dr. Home exotic rifle will be releasing. You may remember it from the Season 10 PTS, but this exotic has been slated as the exclusive reward for completing the seasonal manhunt, and you can see it in the manhunt tab in-game right now as the reward for tracking down General Anderson. So along with hopefully some cool new story progression, we will be getting a new exotic this month, which is pretty sweet. And then of course the Dark Path apparel event. Who doesn't like apparel? Moving beyond those, we have a few more Division 2 related things, but ones without set dates at the moment. The first and the big one is the Season 11 PTS. Looking back at the remaining Year 4 content roadmap that we got back in July, Season 11 for the Division 2 has been slated for December for quite a while. Now, if you watched my news breakdown for the recent Ubisoft investors call from last week, I will link that at the top if you missed it, it seemed to potentially suggest that Season 11 will be delayed. This being because it was notably absent from the company's Q3 release lineup, which extends through December. However, this has not been spoken on or acknowledged by any of the devs or anybody from Massive that I have seen, so until that happens, the only assumption I can make is that Season 11 is on track to release in December, and going by the current in-game calendar for Season 10, it's set to end on Tuesday, December 6th. Suggesting that Season 11 would be slated to release the very same day. Now, of course, that can shift by a week or two if need be, but the overall point here is that if Season 11 is releasing in December, the PTS undoubtedly has to start this month. As we've seen now with the two previous title updates, the PTS schedule for Year 4 has been much slower than it used to be in years past. There are much more significant gaps in between the phases. So even if they were to limit this PTS to 2 phases, which is unlikely given it's delivering an entire new game mode, they would still be hard pressed to cram that all into the first part of December before releasing the update and before they go on holiday break, which typically happens right around or just after the midway point of the month. So once more, as it currently stands, Season 11 is currently set to release in December until we hear otherwise, and that means the PTS will be launching later this month, which is awesome. This will give us our first real look and hands-on experience with the Descent game mode, which is super exciting. In case you missed that news, I will link it in the top corner right now. We are indeed getting another new game mode, and it's going to be unlike anything Division has ever done before, so super stoked to check that out. Season 11 is also set to bring a big batch of changes and fixes to PvP, the DZ, and Conflict, which, you know, as an avid player of all of those things is really exciting. Can't wait to get more details on that. Then, of course, we have all the regular offerings of a new season, new weapons, brand, gear set, named item exotics, and while I'm saying this isn't likely, there's always the possibility that the long-awaited specialization rework could drop with this update. We've been waiting on it for a long time. It first got announced over a year ago in October of 2021, and it's remained my most hyped, quote-unquote new content ever since then, just because of how game-changing I think it could be. So the latest update we had on it was back during the August agent briefing, where we were told it's actively being worked on. Fingers crossed is all I can really say, anxiously awaiting that to drop. But yeah, the Season 11 PTS is on its way, and regardless of what it'll contain, I can't wait to check it out. The last big item to talk about for the Division 2 here is the ETF. Now, I debated whether or not to really include this, but it does have correlations to Season 11, so I at least wanted to mention it. Of course, we heard a while back from Massive that they were reinstating the ETF program with a new Foxtrot team, except this time they were making both dedicated PvE and PvP groups, something they've never done before. Now, it was partly implied, partly assumed that at least the PvP portion of the team was going to give input on the big PvP changes the team had planned for Season 11 that we talked about just a moment ago, and it would only make sense that the PvE team's first big thing to tackle would be the new game mode. Well, we heard from Daria that they originally had planned to announce the team selections alongside the release of TU16 and Season 10, but yeah, that was over a month and a half ago. Frankly, I don't know what the current status of the ETF is right now. Technically, it's possible that the members have already been selected and that it's already begun, but it's always been tradition in the past, and Daria even said a while back that they would announce it when things were moving forward with it, and then they always leave it up to the individual members on if they want to publicize their participation or not. and we haven't gotten any of that. So similarly to the PTS timeline, if they want the ETF to actually contribute and give meaningful feedback on the contents of Season 11, and that is still planned to go live in December, then that's got to happen ASAP. Maybe plans are changing behind the scenes, maybe they're working some stuff out, who knows? In the meantime, that's the latest updates, and that's what we know. Moving on from the Division 2, we have the Division Resurgence, which is of course the upcoming mobile game for the Division franchise. The game had its first closed test pretty shortly after its unveiling a few months back, and that was strictly for Android users in Europe, I want to say. Well, we've been hearing pretty nonstop since Ubisoft Forward back in September that the game has a closed beta scheduled for this fall. They talk about it constantly on their Twitter page, saying the news on it is coming very soon, yada yada. Well, as with some of the other stuff, that's gotta happen sooner or later. So while theoretically they could hold that off until December, I think it's still technically fall at that point. It's gonna happen this month, I have no doubt. So that's exciting. I hope this test will potentially add more regions and devices to the eligibility list. I would love to try out the game for myself, but yeah, get signed up for testing if you haven't yet and want to participate, because that closed beta is coming up quick, and I will leave a link to their website down in the description below. And then last thing to mention here is less of a for sure happening this month and more of just a reminder to keep your eyes peeled, and that is of course the Division Heartland. The last official word we had on the game in its release timeline was 2022 to 2023. We know Ubisoft's current outlook for it is set to release by the end of fiscal 2022. That means March 2023 at the very latest. So for all intents and purposes, they're still locking down an exact release date, but if all goes according to plan, that means that we should have the game in our hands at the very latest in less than 5 months, which is super crazy to think about. But that means that sooner or later, we're going to start hearing more about it. Whether it could still potentially release this year, that would definitely mean news coming on it very soon, or whether it is slated for something like March, then I would still expect to hear some news before the year is out. Maybe not in November, but my point is, I think you all get it. Heartland's release status is in a very nebulous state right now, so keep your eyes and ears peeled for any potential new information that might drop, and rest assured that I will have any and all of that covered right here on the channel, so stay tuned. That is going to wrap up your November news preview breakdown for the Division universe. Everybody, I sincerely hope you enjoyed, because we've got a lot to look forward to. On Division 2's front, Season 10's conclusion, new apparel event, new exotic, Season 11's PTS on the horizon with the new Descent game mode, the startup of the ETF, potentially. Resurgence is getting one step closer to launch with its closed beta, and Heartland is just being Heartland, as mysterious as it always is. We've got a lot coming up, and as has been the case for a lot of this year, it's a great time to be a Division fan, just given the amount of variety of new stuff coming our way. So yeah, it's all quite exciting, and I look forward to covering it all. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on to be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts regarding any and all of these upcoming November happenings. What are you most excited for? What do you think about some of the ones that we're still awaiting further details on, like Season 11's PTS and the Resurgence test? Whatever you all are thinking about any of those or anything else, as always, I will be super curious to read through your thoughts. Beyond just this stuff that we know is coming up, I have some other fun surprises planned for November. It should be a pretty fun month here on the channel, so stay tuned. I think you will all enjoy. That's going to do it for me today, though. Everybody, once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold.